the danger, and where a lot of first-time screenwriters will kind of fall down, is you get a little bit too psyched that you've actually finished your first draft, because your work is just beginning at that point. And normally, when I write a first draft, I don't even call it the first draft. I refer to it as what is called a sketch draft, because it's really, you're just, for the first time, you're getting that down into screenplay form for the first time. But the good news is that it now lives as a screenplay. But now comes the difficult work of deciding what works and what doesn't. What has to be cut, where it is lacking. You've got different changes that you make. Some of them are cosmetic. After you've finished your screenplay, after you've gotten all these steps down and you've written it out, you're going to put it down and you're going to try not to look at it for at least a week. You're going to take a break from it. You're going to rest your muscles up. Oh yeah, you're going to put it down for at least a few days. You don't want to race right back into it. Now, after you've written your first draft, it's probably not going to be 120 pages, and don't panic. It's going to be more than that. And you're going to go through this anxiety thing when you're writing your first draft where it's coming in long, and you know it's coming in long. Write it anyway. Just keep going. Finish your story. Okay? Because after you finish the first draft, you're going to write another draft. Okay? You're going to sit down with it, and you're going to look at scenes, and you're going to look for certain things, and I'm going to talk a little bit now about what to look for. Okay. There's a couple of things you can do that will help you shorten your scenes. Okay. Enter late. Leave early in all scenes. What does this mean? I'll give you an example. Let's say you're writing a scene about a kid in New York City. He's wrongfully accused of a crime that he didn't commit. He's enlisted through a friend the aid of a very, very high-end lawyer who's on the Upper East Side. The courthouse is down by Wall Street. Anybody here familiar with New York? Wall Street's on one end of town, Upper East Side all the way down the opposite end of town. Here comes your high-end lawyer driving a Ferrari or whatever. Courtroom is down on Wall Street. This kid is arraigned to be in front of the judge at 1 o'clock. It's 12:40. This guy's got to get from the Upper East Side down to Wall Street. Tough task, even if you've got a helicopter. So we're seeing the young man in the courtroom. The clock's on the wall. It's 12:41. We see the lawyer leaving. There's traffic. He's running. He knows this kid's life is basically depending on him being present, or else he's going to go to jail. Another shot of the clock up on the wall. Here's the judge or the bailiff in the court reading the docket, and the kid's name comes up. Here's our man driving crazily through the streets of Manhattan. Very sexy scene. You've got a big movie star in a big, beautiful, expensive car, right? So far, so good. There's another shot of our young man in the courtroom. Now he's sweating it. It's 12:50. There's our guard pounding on his horn. Can't get anything to work. Can't get down the streets. 12:53. Now we see that he's parked his car somewhere and he's running. Okay? Back to the courtroom, it's 12:55. The kid's really sweating. Judge calls the kid's name. Other end of town, here's the guy. He's running, he's running, he's running, he's running. He's on the street. All this buildup, all this buildup. We're feeling tension, right? Okay? So now the gavel goes up. It's about to go down. In through the doors pops the lawyer, with the clock just striking 12. Okay? How much of that can we lose? How much of that pushes plot, reveals character? What's the central unit of dramatic action there? The central unit of dramatic action, anybody? The gavel, yes, very good. The gavel, absolutely. Okay? So there's an old saying in screenwriting, kill your paper babies. Terrible thing to visualize, but they're paper, they're literary, okay? Kill your paper babies. It means that if you don't need it, as much as you're in love with the idea of writing something in a certain way because you've just become drawn to it, if it doesn't push plot, reveal character, if you can't enter late, leave early, lose it. The only thing you need is a couple shots of this kid, a couple shots of the lawyer, the clock, the gavel, and the entrance. Now, to go further, exit with a question, enter with an answer. So if the exit of this scene is the lawyer getting there on time, and he does his thing, and Your Honor, wait, I'm Counselor blah, 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 and I'm here to represent, and then everything is disposed of, and then they get to leave court together. How could we exit that scene with a question and enter with an answer? The question that's posed by the gavel being up in the air, with the lawyer running through the door right at that moment, with the clock on the wall, and then the face of the poor young kid who's wrongly accused, that's posing a question in the mind of the audience. What? With no dialogue. We're just doing that with visuals. So how can we exit with a question and enter with an answer? So instead of going through that big explanation of, well, Your Honor, and blah, 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 it's talky, 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 talk. The next shot, exit with a question, the question being, what happens to him? Does he go to jail or not? Enter with an answer. Simple. A set of elevator doors open, and the kid walks out with the lawyer, and they're talking about the case as they exit the street. What took you so long, man? I almost went to jail. Now you can pay it off, and now you can put more energy into it. Because if you overwrite it, what do? You take all the energy out of it. So when you rewrite your screenplay, you're going to look for opportunities for these two principles. Enter late, leave early. Enter your scenes late. You don't need all that big buildup with the Ferrari running down the street and the running and all of that stuff. It's superfluous. It doesn't push the plot, and it doesn't reveal character. It does a little bit, but you can do the same thing in far fewer shots. So you want to enter late, leave early. Exit with a question, enter with an answer, all the way. So you go through your screenplay and you look for things and opportunities, I should say, where you can do these things. If you do your homework, you won't be presented with the situation where you discover you've got a major structural flaw. I'm going to explain what I mean by that. A structural flaw is basically something that renders your story as unworkable. And what I tell people when they start writing is that if you think about writing a screenplay, envision yourself, not to get too metaphoric here, but think of what it would be like to take a deck of cards and go to a public park. And you're sitting on a park bench or a park picnic table, and you want to build a house of cards. You want to put together a house of cards on a public park table, picnic table. It's windy, people pass by. It would be really difficult to do that. Okay, but that's the mindset that you have to have when you're writing a screenplay, because if one card is out of place, the entire structure could come crumbling down. Okay? If your tones are confused, you wind up with something called tonal confusion, which is synonymous with total confusion. Let me explain. Again, with the principle of, kill the paper babies, you can have a scene in your head that you think plays funny or plays dramatically or works really well, and for some reason you've committed to trying to make everything work around keeping that scene included in your screenplay. One of the biggest favors that you can do for yourself is when you're writing your story out in a narrative form, at the very beginning when you're writing everything out, before you even get to the treatment, okay? If it works, keep it. If it doesn't and you feel like you're forcing it and you have to fit it in, lose it. Don't agonize over it. Stick with what works. Okay? And remember, it's always you want to create maximum atmosphere using minimal prose. When you rewrite, if you discover that you've got a structural flaw, you've got to go back to stage one. You never want to do the rewrite from the screenplay document itself. You want to go into your treatment and you want to go into your beat sheet and you want to rewrite it from there. Okay? Because if you don't, you're going to find that you trip yourself up when you're doing your rewrite strictly from the screenplay draft. Okay? You want to take it back, always take it back a step or two and change your beat sheet, redo your whole beat sheet over again to make it work, redo your treatment again with the caveat that this is what I find works for me. You might not find that it works this way for you. You might find that you're able to do it the other way. If there's anyone in here that can write a first draft and sell it without doing any of these steps, give me your information afterwards because we'll make a lot of money together. But it's a really hard thing to pull off. So if you find out that you've written it and you've got a structural problem or the tones are confused, you've got to take a few steps back. Now, after you've written your first draft and you've gone through all of the scenes and you find every opportunity that you can to exit a scene, enter a scene late and leave early, exit with a question, enter with an answer. Do that through your whole screenplay. How can I make this scene tighter? How can I make it shorter? Is it visual enough? After you've done that, you want to give the screenplay, which we're not done talking about. I'm getting a little ahead, but I want to just get this out while we're talking about it here. After you've done all of that, you're going to give it to somebody whose opinion on this matter you absolutely trust. Someone whose opinion you absolutely trust. And you don't want them to be too kind. You don't want them to be too ferociously critical. Okay? You want a very good, honest, clinical opinion of your work. You're going to take that, and you're going to put that aside. You're going to give it to one other person that you absolutely trust and have them do the same thing. Now, it's a big ask. Asking somebody to read a screenplay is a big ask.
Would that be offensive or wrong to really go through the NDA process?
I beg your pardon?
An NDA is that process. Would you even include that as part of the non-disclosure?
Well, okay, that's a good point. You always, the first thing you want to do when you finish, you want to register your screenplay with the Writers Guild of America. You can email it to them. They'll send you a registration number right back, so before you send it out anywhere, I was going to cover that in the business end of things. But yeah, you want to do that. It costs $29, and then you have peace of mind. WritersGuildofAmerica.org or .com, one of the others. So after you've sent your screenplay to the second person and they've given you your opinion, you're looking for commonality. What notes do each of those two readers have in common? What notes are they giving you that are common? Okay? And then you're going to kind of sit back and revisit your story again with those notes. You may not agree with the notes. You might think, they don't get it, but this is all the stuff that you're going to be navigating. You know, you can hand it to somebody and they can give you notes where they say, well, it's hitting me this way, and you don't agree with it. And you give it to another reader and they give you the same notes, but you have to know where that moment is where, okay, this actually doesn't work, or I just haven't given it yet to somebody that actually gets it. So there's that line that you walk with this, okay? But the point is that you try to make it better and better and better.